Alright everyone, hello, welcome. I'm not in front of the camera at the moment because I am still preparing one of the snacks that I made. So let's see, tilt this up a little bit so you can hear me. Alright, so hold on, I'm just preparing one of the little snacks. I had to kind of partially freeze it so that way it could I don't know the word, relax, I guess. It's been a while since I've done one of these live streams, and that's because we've had these crazy oh geez, this is not gonna want to do what I want it to do. Alright, well, okay. That sucks. I'll just leave it as is because that's gonna be a mess. Okay. Jeez, I thought there was enough time, but there wasn't. Alright, now I have to pre-warm the teapot and the teacup. So I'm going to go to the sink here. Okay. Where's my phone? All right, everybody. Hello. It's been a while. All right. Let me go to my channel so I can read your guys' comments. Let's see, where are we? Alright, who do we got? Let's see. Wow, there's a lot of people commenting. Hello Mike, hello C-Quad, hello Tyler, hello BD Forever, hello Eternal Travels. Let's see, who else? Hello, Ken. How's it going? Hello, Gray. Hello, Haley. NSSR RailFan. Hello. Granny Gaming. How's it going? Miss Doja. Let's see. Miss Doja says, what are your thoughts on the Queen Mary 2? Beautiful ship. While I do prefer the older steam-powered ocean liners, when it comes to a modern-day ship, Queen Mary 2 is very beautiful. So, you know, one day I will be taking a journey aboard that ship, but, you know, maybe not anytime immediately soon. I am raising money to go on a trip aboard the Queen Mary 2. The link to that fundraiser is in the description below. Gray says, do you want coffee? I don't drink coffee anymore. Ozzy Madero says, will Alex burn his fingers today? Every day, of course. Daniel says, hello Alex, hope you're doing well. I appreciate what you said on my drawings. Side question, do you like the trains? Yes, I do. Tyler Frederick says, hey, I'm just happy you're here. I especially missed you on July 26th. Was there something special about July 26th? Mark Cooper says, good afternoon, Alex. So lovely to see you. Thank you so much. Ken says, any news on the Russian sub by the Queen Mary? No, there's no news on that. You know, these things, they take forever. I mean, by the time they do get permission to remove it, it will probably be another 6 to 12 months before they do. So we're not going to see anything happen for a long time yet on that. Pose says, hi Alex, I'm new here, love your content. Don't know if you are into aircrafts, but I think you should visit the Spruce Goose whenever you can. Absolutely mind-blowing. I have already visited the Spruce Goose. I'm not into aircrafts, but the Spruce Goose is the exception to that because of its amazing story, its amazing history. So I did film all around the Spruce Goose. I filmed probably an hour's worth of 4K footage all around the outside, the inside, the inner workings. I took a tour, all that stuff. I will be making a history video on the Spruce Goose eventually, but I don't have that on the immediate schedule yet because I got so much ocean liner stuff to do first, especially since, you know, you guys are probably wondering where have I been? We've been going through heat wave after heat wave, and I haven't had air conditioning. And so it's been absolutely unbearable. I haven't been able to even like work on my channel. You know, I've been under a lot of stress lately too. So, you know, work on my channel has completely halted up until today because it's just been, there's been a lot going on. And then the heat wave on top of that just made everything worse. I did buy an air conditioner. I have it running right now. And so that's why I'm able to do this tea time today, because otherwise it's a pretty warm day today. So, let's see. Hello, Rena. Hello, Jeffrey. I don't know if... I don't think my chat's keeping up. Nope, it wasn't. Okay, let's see. NSSR RailFan says, hey Alex, I have fun stories of what's to come and what happened last weekend. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's hear it. Let's see. Haley says, did you know that Tahitian dancers in It's a Small World originally had different outfits? Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure a lot of animatronics in It's a Small World have had their outfits altered and changed over the years. So, in fact, I'm sure they have. Ozzy says, how's the weather today, Alex? It's another quite warm day. Tomorrow will be definitely a hot day. Tomorrow it's going to be definitely over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm just thankful I have my air conditioner now. Anne says, hi Alex, happy Friday. Great to join you for tea today. Thank you. It's good to have everybody here. I've missed doing tea times. Daniel says, how many steam locomotive boilers will fit in an ocean liner boiler like Queen Mary? Depends on the size of the steam locomotive boiler. But I mean, if you're looking at circumference of the boilers versus the width and height of a Yarrow boiler on the Queen Mary, you're probably looking at anywhere between, 9 to 12 boilers able to fit inside, in terms of measuring the circumference, or not the circumference, but the diameter of boilers instead of the length, because most certainly Queen Mary's boilers are not as long as steam locomotive boilers. Jeffrey Charles, no, I will not be. Goofy Rolls says, hi Alex, enjoy the chill. Thanks. Wow says, hey Alex, if the merge with Cunard used gross registered tons instead of assets, would the White Star Line win the merge? I don't think so. But I don't know. But I don't know, because I don't know all the gross tonnage of all their ships. But it is time to do the next step of preheating. You know what? This is difficult with that thing that far away. So, normally I have McVitie's digestives on this plate here, but because I prepared a special treat for today's tea time, I decided to forego that. But I still have my Scottish shortbread here, and I have my cucumber tea sandwiches. So, alright. So there we go. That's the next stage of preheating. So this thing, it's basically at its core, it's a lemon pound cake, and in between the layers is blackberry preserves and basically whipped cream. And it was gonna be all dressed up a lot nicer than this. I was gonna cut it up. I was gonna remove the crusts. I was gonna like load it with like powdered sugar and stuff so it looks nice and presentable. Problem is that even though this was in the freezer for 2 hours, the whipped cream did not freeze all the way up. So as soon as I tried to cut it, it was like smushing out the sides. And so I thought, this is not going to end well. I might as well just eat it as is. So that's kind of what we're going to do, because it's like I said, it's not going to end well. So all right, so let's see. Real fan says, gonna volunteer at Day Out with Thomas event on Wednesdays. I got to ride in a caboose for free behind the steam locomotive in my profile pic. Oh, nice. Also got to hop in the cab of it. It was super fun, and I hope you can come to Duluth. MN. I don't remember what MN is. Maine? I don't remember. I don't know what MN is, but I don't know. We'll see. Eternal says it's currently 84 degrees Fahrenheit, stormy here. Tyler says July 26th was the anniversary of Andrea Doria. Oh, I see. Ozzy says, we've little break in monsoon weather here in Fort Mojave, Arizona, but humidity is up big, and so is the dew point is up big too. Oh, wow. Okay. There we go. Cunard White Starlight. Wait. Oh, there we go. Wait, Gray Mitchell says, how many elevators can fit in an elevator? Good question. Cunard White Starline says, I've noticed the user Mary has a small flagpole on her stern and bow. I've noticed in the 1980s she had a Long Beach City flag at the bow, an American flag at the stern. Any reason why they aren't flown? Probably because the flags went into disrepair and then they never replaced them. It's little things like that that's happened to the ship, is like little things like even flags, they don't replace them when they get torn up and stuff, so you know, that's probably why. Ken says, I had no idea ON30 scale existed until I saw your channel. I think I'm going to use that for a set I'm going to build, such as such a cool scale. Thanks for the info on it. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I love ON30 scale. You know, I was working with all kinds of scales. You know, when I was a kid, I had HO scale. When up until, you know, a few years ago, I had N scale. But I always had difficulty, which was I love running small steam locomotives, not the big giant ones. But when you have such small scales, the steam locomotives don't run that efficiently, and you can't get certain engines in that size. So, you know, like, I love Forney engines. They're my favorite kind. You can't get Forney engines in N scale or HO scale. You'd have to, like, custom make them, and even then they might not run properly. So ON30 scale is nice because, you know, because they do have things like this. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I love ON30 scale. Daniel Ramirez says, Alex, if Titanic didn't sink, what would be considered the biggest ocean disaster? Would it be Britannic, Lusitania, or MV Wilhelm Gustloff? Hope I'm pronouncing that right. It will always be Wilhelm Gustloff. Because that one had the most human lives taken. It was 9,000, I think it was. And then right beneath that was Lancastria. Lancastria, what had up to 6,000 lives taken. So yeah, there's quite a few more. There was quite a few more ships that had a large amount of lives taken from disaster. than Titanic. Titanic is just the one that's always remembered by more people. Wow says, hey Alex, which one do you like, lemon or lime? I like both, but it depends on what they're in. Granny Gaming says, what would be different if White Star Line won the merger instead? I couldn't tell you. I really don't know. I imagine it would be exactly the same as today, except that instead of saying, oh, this is the Cunard Queen Mary 2, we'd probably be saying this is the Cunard Britannic 2 or something, you know? Like, it wouldn't be any different, I don't think. But, Mark says, I stocked up on dark chocolate McVitie's yesterday at my local supermarket. Just Australian dollars, which is $2 a pack over here. Nice. Yeah, over here it's about $7 to $8 a pack of McVitie's. Yeah, $7 to $8 American dollars. And so whenever I order, like, I usually buy like 3 or 4 packs together, because that's where you get kind of more of a deal. For a 3-pack, I can get that as cheap as $21 per pack, and a 4-pack I can get that sometimes $30. So yeah, it's difficult. So some people are like, how can you only eat 2 or 3 McVitie's? Because frankly, they're so expensive over here. Haley says, did you hear rumors that Disney wanting to remove Walt from Walt Disney World? No, but it doesn't surprise me. Anne says, lemon anything is a treasure. Oh yeah, I agree. Mark says, lemon pound cake is also one of my favorites with lots of butter and jam. Interesting. Yeah, I put whipped cream on mine, but it does have blackberry preserves. Taylor says, if money wasn't an issue, what room would you book on Queen Mary 2? Well, I mean, I think that's too easy. I think anybody, if money was never an issue, I think anybody would get the most expensive room. You know, I mean, I mean, even with a normal hotel, if you said if money was not an issue, which one would you get? I think everybody would get the penthouse. You know, so that's really easy. All right, time to brew the tea. Let's see. Jeffrey says, bought some Walker's shortbreads at the store, but only they were on sale. Wonder why they are so expensive. Yeah, I don't know. Corky says, have you ever taken the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner? Yes, indeed. I took it from Los Angeles to San Diego. It was okay, but, you know, I'm not much of a modern train fan. So for me, that was just like... To me, that wasn't even... It didn't even feel like I was on a train. You might as well have said I was in, like, a bus or something. Like, that's what it felt like to me. So I'm not nostalgic for modern trains. I like old steam trains. I like the wood, the you know, the hot iron, like, all that stuff. The steam flowing. So when I'm on a modern train, it just feels like I'm on a bus. It doesn't feel amazing to me, you know? Like, I don't go all goo-goo over it, you know? Okay, so Now it's time to put the tea in. Today is Earl Grey. Twinings Earl Grey. Let's see. Okay, so it goes in for 5 minutes, so 4:26. Yeah. Goofy Roll says it's 92 here, and yes, I'm so tired of the heat. I hope winter's coming soon. Yeah, I mean, I hate the heat, you know, like one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to move up here in the first place was to get away from the heat in Southern California. I just couldn't stand it. It's funny, I was watching a video the other day, and, you know, the people in the video were talking about, oh, we love Southern California, we love visiting there because it's always beautiful weather, and I'm like, I hate the weather in Southern California. Nothing ever changes. There's no spring, there's no summer, there's no, you know, there's no winter, there's no fall. It's always just hot and dry. And, you know, I've always hated it, you know. And sometimes the winters have rain, but you really can't tell one season from another. And, you know, and then, of course, the smog, like, I can't stand it. Wow says, hey, Alex, will you buy a ship model from Titanic Honor and Glory? I want to, but the thing is that what I really want from Titanic Honor and Glory is I want them to do the Queen Mary. They have a model of the Queen Mary that they were testing out. They were going to sell it on their website, but they never brought it to the website. They have printed it, though, and I've seen video footage of them printing it, and they have it. So I'm waiting for them to sell the Queen Mary because I want to get all in the same scale. I want to get the Queen Mary, Titanic, Mauretania, and maybe another ship. I'm not sure which one yet. But, yeah, I definitely want to get those three. Maybe I'll do Queen Elizabeth. I'm not sure, but I don't think they'll have Queen Elizabeth. I think they'll just have Queen Mary. But even still, they aren't selling it, so I'm not going to buy any models yet. You know, plus I heard that shipping will, even the gray models, which I can paint myself, even the gray models will take months and months to ship. So I'm like, what's the point? You know, what's the point? Dangerous Brian says, how's it going, Alex? Not seen you here in a while. Have you been busy? I've been busy, I've been under stress, and we've been under a constant heat wave. So, you know, with a lack of air conditioning, I just couldn't put my face in front of a camera. It was just, it was too hot. Like I didn't even have any clothes on. It was so hot. It was really, really, really hot. And I was like spending my time like laying in the bathtub every day to cool down. It was crazy. You know, it would be 105 degrees outside, and it would be 98 in here. It was so hot. But, you know, now I have an air conditioner, and I feel much better. So, right now, it says it's 84 degrees outside, but I don't believe that. It's hotter. It was 84 when I left the house 2 hours ago. So there's no way. It's got to be hotter by now. Gray Mitchell says, hi, Alex. Hello, Gray. Ken says, got my eye on a sweet 280 Bachmann ON30. 280. Yeah, be careful, Ken, because if it's manufactured 280, then that's good. But if it's something that someone pre-owned 280, it may not be in ON30. It may be O scale. It may be O scale, but the person, that sounds like the 280, yeah, that sounds like the kind of engine someone would modify to be a 280. And usually when they modify it to be a 36-inch narrow gauge. So Ken, I would double or triple check that it really is gonna fit on HO scale tracks, because sometimes people buy O scale engines, and they'll modify it, or sometimes they'll buy ON30 scale engines, and then they'll modify it to fit, 36-inch track. So, yeah. So be careful. Gray Mitchell says, how many elevators can fit in a cruise ship? I don't know. Daniel Ramirez says, hey Alex, I used to have a Bachmann Spectrum ON30260, but then sold it in a garage sale. Now I'm disappointed. Yeah, I had one too, and the one I bought, the person lied to me. It didn't work at all. Someone had went in there and put glue in all the gears. So all the gears were glued together. It was unusable, absolutely unusable. Tried to fix it, but it was unusable. All the gears were glued together. So, yeah, I was pretty mad about that. Eternal Travel says, I've been wanting to try to get into tea recently. Any recommendations on tea I can try? It depends on what you like. I tend to drink black teas because of the fact that I grew up as a coffee drinker. Oh, it's time to... I grew up as a coffee drinker, so... Ow, 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 ow. That's so hot. Okay, so I grew up as a coffee drinker, so I never liked teas growing up. I like coffee because, it's got a particular flavor I like and all that stuff. But because I can't drink coffee anymore, because it just doesn't... I don't feel good when I drink coffee anymore. I chose to go to tea, and I chose to go with black teas. So I usually drink English breakfast tea, but my favorite, which I'm preparing right now, is Earl Grey. Now, I don't recommend getting Earl Grey from an American company like Lipton. Don't get it from an American company. Get it from a true British company. The Earl Grey I drink is from Twinings, but there's plenty of other British companies that do Earl Grey. And the reason why I say don't go with American is because I've had American Earl Greys and they taste disgusting. So yeah, I would recommend going with British companies if you're going to go with black teas. So, that's kind of my recommendation. Alright. Oh, I forgot I was going to wear a blazer. Oh well. Okay, so now time to pour the tea. It's funny, I had just ironed this shirt. Literally, right before the stream started, I had just finished ironing the shirt. As soon as I put it on, it was wrinkled. I've never seen that before. So... Alright, so for the tea, I like 1.5 spoons of... or demi-tasse spoons. 1.5 demi-tasse spoons of sugar. You stir back and forth for an effective integration of sugar with the tea. I have here some milk. I think I brewed this a bit too strong today because my teaspoon measure was dirty and I did not feel like cleaning it. So I went and tried to measure accurately using a 1/2 tablespoon measure, and I might have overdone it. But that's okay. Let's see how it tastes. That's definitely strong. But it's drinkable. So we'll do it. Mark says, if you get a P.O. box at some time, I would be happy to send a McVitie shipment to you. Oh, thanks. Yeah, maybe someday. Cunard White Star Line says, where I live, there used to be a ferry that took passengers on cruises to a national park every Sunday. It ran from 1902 to 1915. Oh, nice. Cunard White Star Line says, I mean, it was a paddle steamer. Oh, okay. But still, that's cool. I learned the other day that the Natchez, which is the only remaining real steam riverboat on the Mississippi, a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago, its engine room caught fire. And so right now it's undergoing extensive repairs. I hope it comes back because, you know, my friend and I want to go to New Orleans, and that way I can film some stuff for the channel. And one of the things I wanted to film was the Natchez, so I can do a video about the various Natchez steamboats that have been around. So yeah, hopefully they get it repaired. Granny Gaming says, how long does it take to make tea? It really depends on the tea. Some teas take only 2 minutes to brew. Some teas take 5 minutes to brew. The one I brewed today takes 5 minutes. I have another tea that takes 3 minutes. So it really depends on the tea. So squeaky. Corgi Cola says, do you like Kaiser Wilhelm der Grosse? Not particularly, no. Let's see. Granny Gaming says, how hot is it inside now that you have air conditioning? It usually stays anywhere between 10 to 15 degrees cooler in the apartment with the air conditioning on. The air conditioner is too small for the size of the apartment, but, you know, it's what I could fit in the apartment, so. Sterling's Kitchen says, hello there, Alex, first time here. Thanks, well, welcome aboard. So this is a Cunard afternoon tea. Basically, the reason why I call it that is because everything from here to here is all original Cunard tea service. So this china is original to ships like the RMS Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth, ships like Sylvania, Mauretania 2, and Caronia, you know, so this is authentic china, and it first originally appeared on the Queen Mary in 1936. So the style debuted with the Queen Mary in 1936, and yeah, and so it took a while to build up a collection, to have a whole tea set and be able to actually use it for various things. You know, I've got a teapot. I've got an extra teapot back here, which I don't use. I've got a waste bin, which I don't really have waste after making tea, so I don't use it as a waste bin. I use it to hold my demi-tasse spoons. I've got a hot water jug for like when you're having coffee and you might want to dilute it. Or maybe if you're having strong tea and you want to dilute it, which is actually a good idea. That's actually a really good idea. Dilute some of that. I've got a creamer, which looks like the hot water jug, but it's much smaller. And I've got a sugar bowl, which looks like the waste bin, but it's much smaller. I've got an extra teacup and saucer. Now, these teacups are smaller than the average teacups you might buy. I don't know why they're so small, but they are. And so, yeah. Alright, so I'm going to answer some people's questions while I have a sandwich. Karen White Starline says, where I live, there used to be a vehicular cable ferry that carried cars. It ran from 132 years from 1831 to 1974. It was replaced by a new bridge in 1973 and sadly closed in 1974 after losing money. Wow. Hey Alex, it's about 10 degrees Celsius outside in Canada. Interesting. Tyler says, I thought that Lipton was British. Is it? I thought it was American. Well, if it's British, their tea sucks. I prefer Twinings then, because I've had Lipton Earl Grey. It tastes gross. It tastes like dishwater. Evan Scott asks if I'm doing a Queen Mary's Lost Places this weekend. No, I'm not. Let's see. Sterling's Kitchen says, I have a good tea company based here in the UK if anyone wishes to purchase any. Ken says, it's definitely Owen 30. Okay. Mark Cooper says, when you sail on Queen Mary or any Cunard ship, you will find beautiful wooden boxed Twinings teas available at food outlets. The selection is divine. You will enjoy them all. Oh, good. Yeah, I'm excited to try to take a trip aboard the Queen Mary too. Granny Gaming, demi-toss spoons are really tiny spoons. They're meant for like demi-toss coffee, or in this case, a very small teacup. A regular spoon that I would normally use to stir tea is about twice as big as this, and it would look very odd having a massive spoon trying to swirl the tea. So I use demi-toss spoons instead. Corgi Cola says, do you like paddle steamers? I definitely do. Daniel says, hey Alex, what surging ship most closely resembles RMS Carpathia other than SS Nomadic? I don't think SS Nomadic even resembles Carpathia at all. So I don't know. Corgi Cola says, do you think they should make a documentary on the Queen Mary? I don't know about they, but I am, that's for sure. Eternal Travel says, I know you are new to ocean liner side of history, but out of the ones you know, which one is your least favorite? Mine personally is the Great Eastern. I don't talk about least favorites because when I try to talk about ships I don't like, I get a lot of backlash for it. So I don't talk about least favorites anymore because frankly, people can't handle it. So, Sterling's Kitchen says, I'm a professional chef based in the UK and worked in many hotels. Afternoon tea is the bread and butter of hotel business. I could probably do them in my sleep. That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to have like a real afternoon tea. I do my best with what I have. I don't have very much money to work with, so I'm a pastry chef, actually. I'm a professional pastry chef, although I am not in the industry anymore. But I was up until 2020. Yeah, so I thought, I'm like, oh, maybe one day I'll do this really fancy live stream with afternoon tea. But then I thought about it, I'm like, I don't have the money or the time to do some of the stuff that they do for afternoon tea. Like, so occasionally on these afternoon teas, I will make homemade crumpets. So, which is funny because the last time I did it, someone was like, Alex, you should try making them homemade. I'm like, they are homemade. I make them homemade every time. So I make homemade crumpets. I make, one time I made, what are they called? I made English scones, and I was going to make the clotted cream, but it would have been a very time-consuming and expensive endeavor to do so. So I didn't make clotted cream. But yeah, so it'd be kind of cool to do something more authentic than this. This is as close to authentic as I can give people, especially with the Scottish shortbread. Zara says, is it true if you give birth at Disneyland, you get a lifetime free pass? No, that's not true. Goofy Roll says, I think coffee is a young man's drink. I can't handle it anymore. I only do iced tea these days. You know, coffee is a young man's drink. I mean, I know people who, you know, my grandmother, until the day she died, she drank coffee like it was water. In fact, she drank more coffee than she drank water. We have to tell her, you know, like, Grandma, like, stop. Like, you need to drink more water. But she drank coffee like cup after cup after cup. I don't know how she did it, because if I drink a cup of coffee today, all of a sudden I feel sluggish. I get heart palpitations. I just feel tired and gross, and my body just doesn't react to it well anymore. I used to love coffee. I used to have it all the time. Coffee was my thing, but I can't do it anymore. It's the caffeine, I think. It has my body reacts to it negatively now. No, Daniel, I haven't heard of the thistle gorm. Tyler Frederick says, what is this I'm hearing about Walt Disney? Well, Walt Disney is a controversial figure nowadays because of everyone's misconstrued perceptions of who he was. So, as a controversial figure, people are trying to, I hate to say the word, but cancel him, basically. That's really what it is. So, you know, Disney stopped playing his dedication speech on Disneyland's anniversaries, and as well as the fact that there's some rumor, I don't think it's true, but it might be, that they're trying to remove the name Walt from Walt Disney World. Which doesn't surprise me, though, because they're trying to remove Walt Disney's name from a lot of things. It's just that he's a controversial figure because everybody thinks he was racist or whatever. So... Cunard White Star Line says, has there ever been any restoration or K on gutted or forgotten spaces aboard the Queen? I don't know what K is, but has there ever been any restoration on gutted or forgotten spaces? Off the top of my head, without thinking too long on it, I'm going to say no. There's been no restoration of gutted spaces aboard the Queen Mary. There's been restoration of spaces that were not gutted, but not of gutted spaces. Wow says, hey Alex, would you rather go on Mauretania or Aquitania? Mauretania. Ratupia says, what is the latest on Queen Mary's reopening? There's no latest. There's no information. I would have shared it with you guys if there was. If there was news on Queen Mary's reopening or its construction, you guys wouldn't even have to ask me because it'd already be up on YouTube. But there's nothing. There's really nothing. It's because everything that's happening is happening behind the scenes. It's not happening in front of everyone's view. So there's nothing to show people. There's nothing. It takes a while to restore the ship enough for it to reopen. So it's happening. It's just that we can't see it happening because it's all happening on the inside of the ship. Granny Gaming says, are those regular spoons teaspoons? I don't have any regular spoons here. But, I mean, it's... What I was trying to say earlier is that these spoons are not teaspoons. They're demi-tasse spoons. So they're smaller. They're half the size of a teaspoon. They're really small. Basically, you know the spoons that you use to feed babies? You know, and they're covered in rubber and stuff so they don't hurt their teeth, if they have any? this is the same size. It's a baby spoon is essentially a demi-tasse spoon. It's just that demi-tasse spoons don't have rubber on them. So yeah, it's that's what a demi-tasse spoon is. But they're used for things like coffee and tea. And then I have teaspoons, but they're too big for these cups. It looks awkward. They would be huge compared to these cups. But those are teaspoons. These cups are tiny. And then I have tablespoons as well, but sometimes people call tablespoons dinner spoons. Let's see. Corgi says, do you like the Lusitania and Mauretania? Absolutely. Daniel Ramirez says, what's your favorite steam locomotive whistles? Mine's are good old 5 and 3 chimes. I like either dual or 3 chime Luckenheimers. Those are my favorite whistles. Arrow Wenser says, hi Alex, I'm so hyped because I will be sailing in Queen Mary 2 next year from London to the Northern Islands. Interesting. Yeah, Squeaky is squeaking today. Sometimes if I give it like a day of rest, it won't be squeaky for quite a while after running it. But as soon as I started it up today, it was squeaking from the beginning. Tell you what, when it comes back around, I'll switch it out to a different locomotive. Sterling says, hope if and when you visit the UK, you can sample some of the best afternoon teas in the UK. I definitely want to. We definitely want to do something. Well, wait, I don't know about in the UK. I know we're going to do afternoon teas aboard the Queen Mary 2 every single day on the voyage there and on the voyage back. I know of some places where you can do some really nice afternoon tea, because I researched it. There's like a hotel in London that does it. Well, there's 2 hotels in London that do it. There's one really fancy hotel that the royal family even stays in, and they have a really good afternoon tea. And then there's a different hotel which like celebrities stay in, which is much larger. It's a bigger hotel. It's huge. So I heard about that one too, but yeah. Granny Gaming says, what do you think of energy drinks? I have never drank energy drinks. I do not like them. They taste terrible. What's my thoughts on Oga's Cantina in Disneyland? Overpriced, overhyped. I didn't like it. I was there. I've been there twice. I've gotten drinks there twice. And the drinks are good, but I can get better drinks elsewhere. That's the funny thing. I can get better drinks elsewhere, and they will cost less. So it's overpriced. It's ridiculous. Danielle says, man, you should probably try to upgrade that 244. Upgrade it to what? They don't make them anymore. This is the newest 244 they've ever made. There's no upgrading. There's fixing. There's repairing, there's fixing, but I can't upgrade. They haven't made these in 10 years. Dangerous Brian says, most of us here do not care if you do authentic afternoon tea or not. Many of us will know if it was authentic. We all care. Not many of us... wait, hold on. I can't... If you do authentic afternoon tea or not many of us will know if it was authentic. All we care about is having the experience of having a nice, civil chat with you. Well, thank you. That's really what all this is about. It's having a civil chat with each other. Tyler says, if they remove Walt, I'm done with Disney forever. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's where we are in this day and age, you know, people removing Walt Disney from Disney. You can't. I mean, you can, but everybody will still know. You can't, like, I don't get, like, why would you try, I don't know. Wow says, hey Alex, do you have plans for a gaming channel? No, I don't. You know, I tried to start up a second channel. You can ask people, like 400 people subscribe to it. I was doing stuff for a while, and I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to do a second channel. It's a lot of work, you guys. I don't know if you know this, but like running YouTube channels the way that I do, it's a lot of work. It's like daily, every single day, all hours of the day. There's no time to do anything else. You know, so it's a lot of work. And so when I started the second channel, I thought I would have time, and I did do a few videos and a few things, but I don't have the time to keep it up, you know. It's a lot of work. Cunard White Star Line, that's a funny story. Sterling says the Savoy Hotel is the go-to place for afternoon tea in London. That might have been one of the places I was talking about. I do remember hearing that name. Daniel Mary says, hey Alex, what is the most overrated model train companies? I don't know. I've only purchased from like 2 or 3 different model train companies. I don't really purchase from very many of them. Yeah, Red Bull does not give you wings. Alright, I'm going to switch out the engine. Hold on. Sometimes the trains will couple together. There we go. Track's a little dirty, so that little engine doesn't like when the track is dirty. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to even bother with that train. It's like every time I run the other engine, it's so small. It needs more... Like, the bigger engine runs better because it's got more wheels, more surface area to cover, so it gets better track connection. But the smaller engine, because it's so small and it's only got so many wheels, it doesn't get as good track connection. Hold on. Yeah, sorry, the camera's out of focus. It doesn't get so much track connection, so... Therefore, the track must be cleaned before I can use the smaller engine. And... I cleaned the track prior to the live stream today, but because I was running the other engine around and around and around, it dirtied the track up. So the smaller engine now doesn't want to run because the track is dirty. So yeah, that's kind of the trouble with that. Let's see. Haley says, did you know that the creation of Buena Vista Street in 2012 was to remind people of Walt Disney because people forgot who he was? Yes, I do know that. I was there for the construction of Buena Vista Street. I was a cast member. I helped tour I helped tour people around the Blue Sky Cellar where we taught people all about Buena Vista Street. The Imagineers came and explained to us the backstory of Buena Vista Street and everything. So I'll tell you, Haley, it'll be hard to stump me on Disneyland knowledge because I spent all my life researching it. Daniel Ramirez says, hey Alex, nice to know you also use a skewer or toothpick to uncouple a train. It's not a skewer or a toothpick, it's an uncoupling train device. It's a specific device you buy to uncouple trains. Empire of Waterloo says, good afternoon, Alex. How have you been lately? Hanging in there. Disney Forever says, Alex, you do great historical accounts of Disney history. I enjoyed watching and learning about all the fascinating facts of anything to do at Disneyland and especially Walt Disney World. Please continue your great, I think you meant to say work, great work. Yeah, the Disney videos will continue, but they... I just want people to know, because I know a lot of Disney fans suddenly subscribe to the channel. I don't do Disney videos that often. I do them maybe once every couple of months. So I just want you guys to know that, because I saw that after I did that Disneyland video, all of a sudden I got a ton of Disney subscribers. And they're probably going to expect to see a lot of Disney videos from now on, but I don't do them that often. Cunard White Stallion says, do you have an interest in cars at all? No. Wow says, hey Alex, what's your favorite car? I don't have one. I don't see cars like the way people do. To me, they're just utility devices. So I don't have an interest in them. To me, one car is really no different than the other, because I wouldn't use it. Like obviously I know some cars are faster than others, but I would never use it for racing. So I don't really care how fast a car goes, honestly. So that's why I don't really have a favorite car, because I really don't care. Sterling's Kitchen says, what are your plans for when you visit the UK? I have it all written down. I even have a video on it too. So if you look in the description below, there's a link to a video where I talked about all the things I plan to do in the UK. Not everything, but a lot of things. The reason why I don't label everything I plan to do is because I have a huge list. So we've got the whole thing, the whole itinerary planned out. It's a huge list of things that we're going to be doing. And we have to plan our time very carefully, because we would really only have 12 days there. And I know that sounds like a lot. 12 days is a lot of days. But with all the things we plan to film and all the things we need to get to, it's a very tight itinerary. And everything has to fit together just right, or else we lose track of certain things. So, but yeah, the whole thing's worked out. I also have a fundraiser campaign for anybody who wants to support that as well. And on that campaign, I go further into detail about the trip and what it'll be like and all that stuff. Granny Gaming says, would you rather sail on RMS Olympic or RMS Mauretania? Mauretania. Cunard White Starline says, have you ever put the biscuit into the tea and had the bottom of the biscuit fall into the tea? It happens all the time. I don't know if you've seen it, but It happens all the time when I have my McVitie's and I'm dipping it in the tea, and then the thing falls in, and I have to scoop it out with my spoon. It's so it's so ridiculous. Kat says, a friend of mine just introduced me to your content, and I was wondering your thoughts on the illegal salvage of the remains of the Empress of Ireland. I've never formulated an opinion on that. It would be the same as my opinion on Titanic, you know, which is take it, you know, take it so we can learn from it, you know, so we can teach people more about ocean liners and about things and make things more tangible, you know. Like I grew up with a very specific point of view, which is it's hard to teach people history and teach them important lessons unless they can see it and experience it themselves. Otherwise, you try to tell somebody about, you know, some time when something bad happened in order to help them avoid it in the future, or to understand it better at least. And people don't really get it. It doesn't sink in unless they can see an artifact from those events. It makes it all the more real, and it sinks into people's brains better. So I've always been of the opinion, you know, take stuff from Titanic, take stuff from shipwrecks, because you can tell people all about the history of these things and what happened, but it becomes legend. It becomes a story that people tell. It doesn't feel real. But when you go to these places, you go to these museums and you see the artifacts and you realize this belonged to somebody. This was somebody's life. This was somebody's dream. You know, it's the same thing with Anne Rice, or no, not Anne Rice, I'm sorry. Anne Frank. I was thinking Anne Rice for some reason. Anne Frank, you know, you read about her, you know, and I don't know about you guys, but in my public schools here in the U.S., they talk about Anne Frank and all that, and you're like, oh, wow, you know, that's an amazing story. But you don't really realize how real, how raw and emotional the story is about this little girl who had all these dreams and aspirations to be somebody. You know, it doesn't sink in until you see an artifact from her, you know, or you see something, or you take a tour of the apartment she lived in and that kind of thing. Like, you know, that kind of stuff really sinks in when you can see it and experience it yourself. Oliver Sherman says, would you rather travel on an old ocean liner or a steam train? Well, if I got to choose which one, then I would say ocean liner. But if I don't get a choice, then I'd say steam train. Because I don't want to go on just any ocean liner. I'd want to go on very specific ones. Corgi says, how have you been lately? Been pretty good. Granny Gaming says, you can walk into Disneyland. As far as Disney World, you drive into that. Well, you drive into Disneyland too. I mean, they've got like 2 different streets that the company that runs right through their property. So, you know, if you want to park your car at Disneyland, you have to drive into the Disneyland property. You know, if you want to visit their hotels, you have to drive into the Disneyland property. So it's the same thing. It's just that Disney World's a whole lot bigger. And says, hope you can at least live stream at least once while you're sailing overseas. That would be fun. That would be fun, but I looked into it, and on Cunard ships, the internet is really bad, and they charge you a lot of money for just a few minutes. It's not worth it. So I'd rather live stream afterwards. But what I will do is you guys aren't going to be blind at all to what's happening on the entire trip. From the minute I leave Portland to the minute I come back to Portland, it will be documented. So there will be lots of video, vlogs, live streams, all kinds of things. So wherever I can't do a live stream, I'll do a video vlog. Wherever I can't do a video vlog, I'll do a live stream. So you guys will be able to tag along in that sense the entire way. So it's not going to be like, you know, even though I can't do a live stream on Queen Mary, that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to see everything I do on the Queen Mary. I'm going to do it all in video format. So there'll be lots of different ways for you guys to be able to tune in and see all this stuff. Let's see. Sterling says, well, I hope you have a lovely time when you come. Yeah, me too. We got a lot of things that we planned out. We're really excited to see it and experience it. So I'm thinking, I should probably tell you guys this now, because so everyone's been asking, well, Alex, when are you coming to the UK? Well, I have to save up money first. We tallied it up. We figured out how much it'll cost, because it'd be me and my friend. So my friend Chris, he's paying for himself. We're going to share like hotel rooms and even a room aboard the Queen Mary 2 as well to save money. But he's paying for himself. I'm paying for myself. And he's got things he needs to film for his channel. I got things I'm going to be filming for my channel, which is pretty much everything. Like 100% of the entire experience will be filmed for the channel. But we tallied it up. It will cost around $8,000, and that includes extra money for emergencies. I think I reserved about $500 for emergencies. So, but the whole trip, because it is a whole month, it's 8 days from New York to Southampton, and then it's 12 days in Southampton, and then another 8 days back, and then so we estimated that it'll probably cost around $8,000 to do. Now, I don't have $8,000 just sitting around. I have to earn that money. I'm saving up money, but I have things I need to do before then. So I have a fundraiser for people who want to help with that, so that way I can do that much sooner. It'd be nice if next year I can do the trip, but it doesn't seem like next year will be the year, because of the fact that while I am able to save money for things, I have other things I need to save money for first. So the first thing is I've already reserved money of my own from this check I'm getting to go down to Southern California in October for when the Queen Mary reopens. So when the original Queen Mary reopens, which it hasn't been officially announced yet, but everybody is everybody in the city and all that, they are trying to reopen the ship by October 1st. So I want to be there when it reopens, or at least soon after. And I need to film a lot of the Queen Mary to make more videos about the Queen Mary, because I only have a limited amount of footage of the ship, and it's not very good footage. I like cinematic footage. I can film, nice cinematic, nice looking footage. Cinematic might be a bit overkill. It's not going to be cinematic, but it's going to be very nice, clean, properly filmed footage of the Queen Mary that I can use for hundreds of videos in the future. Because there's so much to talk about. Everything from light fixtures to door handles to, how passengers lived aboard the ship for the 4 days they were on it, everything. There's so much to talk about. So I need to go and film the entire ship, top to bottom, stem to stern. So that trip will cost about $1,600, $1,600. So I've already saved up for that, and I have to do that because I need more footage of the Queen Mary. And then next year, I'm not exactly sure when. I'm thinking in spring. I'm also going to be saving up my own money for a trip to New Orleans to film all of the French Quarter and some other historic places around, because, again, my channel is all history. So I want to tell more history, especially history of things I love. We're going to take a trip aboard the steamboat Natchez, which is the only remaining real steamboat aboard on the Mississippi River. There's lots of old museums and things all spread out through the quarter, and stuff like that. Then there's the Garden District as well. So me and my friend Chris, we're going to go there to film New Orleans to get, well, he's going to do stuff for his channel, but on my channel, it's all going to be a ton of history stuff about New Orleans, and it's going to be on my channel. And New Orleans is only slightly more expensive than my trip to Southern California this year. So actually, New Orleans is not an expensive trip at all, especially since I don't plan to party. Like neither me nor my friend Chris plan to. We're not party people. We don't drink alcohol. It's so we're gonna be there filming museums and old buildings and old streets and stuff like that to make videos and stuff. And so that one is more achievable in the near future. And I do need stuff in the near future to keep the channel growing. So we might go to New Orleans spring of next year. I don't see why not. So yeah, we might be doing New Orleans spring of next year. And then after that, I pretty much have an open schedule. From there, I'm just going to... all the money I save is going to go directly towards the UK trip. It would be really cool to go to the UK in winter of next year, but we were looking at the schedules of the Queen Mary 2, and she doesn't have the right schedules we need to get there and come back in an expansive enough time for us to film everything. So it may not be next year. It might be 2024 when we do the trip to the UK. So depending on what the schedules are then, but they don't have much of 2024 planned out yet for Queen Mary 2. So we'll see. We'll see. So that's kind of the plan for the near future, you guys, just to let you know. Marty says, good day from sunny Queensland, Australia. Awesome. Good day to you, too. Read the diary of Anne Frank, but never got a full impact until you actually... Yeah, Brian, you're right. You can read the diary of Anne Frank, but it doesn't really sink in until you've seen artifacts or the physical places she's been. Oh, thank you, Cunard White Star Line. The thing I like about your channel is it, to me, sort of feels like a little community. Because of all the other videos on YouTube, it's overwhelming, but here is quiet and nice on this channel. Thank you, that's exactly what I'm going for. Daniel Ramirez says, were there any lives lost when Queen Mary almost capsized? Yes, most definitely. Some of the men aboard the ship were swept off their feet and out into the ocean. Some of them were crushed when the ship had listed to the side, when large equipment or furniture or whatever it was would hit them. So yes, definitely people died. How many, we don't know, because all that information is in the U.S. Army archives, and they've never released that information. So, yeah. Dangerous Brian says, for example, Auschwitz. You can watch all the documentaries, but you don't get the full impact of the evil that happened there until you've been there in person, which I have never done, but would love to. Yeah, me too. I would love to do that. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's things like that. You don't get the full impact till you're there. Like, one of the things I love to learn about for the sake of history and understanding is the slave trade of the South and all the horrible things that happened and how people had to live their lives back then. And I can learn that stuff here on Google. That's fine and dandy. But when we go to New Orleans, I want to visit some museums that talk about these things, and I really want to absorb it and sink it in. I want to, to understand, what happened in those days and see things for myself. I want to get the full impact. I want to feel something over it. So, so that's one of the things about it. Tyler, that's okay, Tyler. But yeah, hopefully you can get a good place of your own. Watch out for New Orleans hurricanes. Yeah, well, hopefully we won't be there during hurricane season. Haley says, if you could create an attraction for Disneyland, what would it be? I don't know. I don't have that kind of brain to think of something so amazing. I would just bring back the People Mover. Granny Gaming says, what's your friend's channel? It's LMG Vids. So LMG and then Vids. So, yeah. Marty's Train says, don't go to the UK in winter. All the tourist railways will be closed for the winter season. That's true, but there's kind of a trade-off. The thing is that winter is the cheapest time to go to the UK. Because I don't have a lot of money, you know. If we had to go in the middle of the busiest time, for instance, the trip would probably cost us $12,000. You know, I don't have $8,000, but $12,000 I most certainly don't have. So one of the reasons we're thinking about going in winter is, even though the railroads will all be closed, the reason why is because, for one thing, my friend really wants to see the Queen Mary 2 battling those North Atlantic storms. He really wants to see that. I mean, we might die, but, you know, for the sake of a good YouTube video, that would probably be the best. You know, so it would be, so yeah, he really wants to see the Queen Mary 2 battling those North Atlantic storms, which happened during the winter season. The other thing, too, is that it's just cheaper. It's cheaper to go on the Queen Mary 2 during winter because of the weather. And then around the UK and stuff, even though it's probably going to be snowy, and it might be snowy in Paris when we go there, you know, I don't want it to be snowy for my videos, but it's what I can afford. It's cheap. It's something I can get away with, you know. We're going to be going there on the cheapest of budgets, you know, like we're going to be staying in the same hotel rooms. You know, it's going to be rather cheap hotels. It's going to be cheap food, you know. Like every city we go to in the UK, my friend wants to get fish and chips. Because as you know, fish and chips changes by region. You know, there's a different taste for different kinds of fish and chips. So he wants to get fish and chips from every region of the UK, especially when we go to like Belfast, you know. So yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we don't have time to go to Wales. You know, there's so many things like a lot of people suggested, you know, oh, go to Newcastle upon Tyne, and you know, or go see the, you know, one of the ones we really want to see, but we don't know if we can, is the Royal Yacht Britannia. You know, I would love to see that. I'd love to film that and make a video about it. But the problem is that we really have to consider how much time things are going to take. It takes time to get on a train and travel from train all the way to another place in the UK. And that's, you know, some of them are trips that are 2 hours long. Some of them are trips that are 3 hours long. That's 3 hours of stuff we cannot film. So that's costing us money. So we have to really consider it. And then, you know, going to Belfast, you know, that's going to be like half a day worth of traveling by airplane, by trains, all that stuff. And then we'll be there and have to stay overnight, you know. So it's time consuming. So when you look at our itinerary, which I have on the fundraiser page, you might go like, oh, that's nice, but, you know, why don't you try going to this, then that place? Well, the reason why is because we carefully planned it out to figure out this is the most stuff we can visit in the least amount of time. And so that's why our itinerary is the way it is. We just don't have time to travel to Portsmouth and see a bunch of ships down there. We don't have time to go up to Newcastle or to Edinburgh, you know. I would love to go to Edinburgh. I would love to go to Edinburgh, but there's no time. There's no time. So, yeah. Will you fly or take a train to New Orleans? I unfortunately will have to fly to New Orleans. I did consider taking a train, but we literally we literally did the the research. It will not be easy at all to go by train from Portland to New Orleans. Portland is just far away from everything. Like, it's easier to take a train from LA to New Orleans, but I don't live near LA. I live 1,000 miles north of it, so I'm gonna have to take a plane. I don't want to, but you know, it's the cheapest and easiest thing to do. Justin says, what kind of stores operated on the Queen Mary in her mall? Name brands or custom shops or both? Always name brands. I don't believe there were custom shops at the time, but always name brands. Let's see if I can recall. No, I can't. I can't recall. But I have a live stream about it. So, you know, me and my friend Steve, we did a live stream talking about the main hall on Queen Mary. And in the main hall, we talked about the different stores and shops that were there and stuff like that. So that all that information is in there. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. Yeah, see, everybody's like, yeah, fish and chips. Yeah, fish and chips changes by region in the UK, so we definitely, everywhere we go, we want to get fish and chips. I don't get to have fish and chips very often here in the US, especially because we don't do it right. You know, we do fried fish and French fries. That's not the same as fish and chips. So I've never had like real fish and chips. So it'd be kind of cool to do that. Granny Gaming says Queen Mary still have a mall. Well, it's not a mall. It's a hall. It's a big open space that has a few shops and things. But yeah, she still does have it. It's on Promenade Deck. It's called the Main Hall. Also known as Piccadilly Circus. You know, it's weird. I would have thought more people would have tuned into the live stream today, considering it's a Friday, but yeah, I hope everything goes well too. You know, there's so many places I want to go and film. You know, to get on the Queen Mary, we have to go to New York, and I don't think we'll have much time in New York. But one thing my friend and I really want to do is we really want to go to the 9/11 memorial. You know, both he and I have memories of seeing the towers fall, you know, in real time. And it really had an impact on both our lives. You know, speaking for myself, it had a huge impact on my life. And I've never seen the memorial myself, never been to New York. So I want to go to New York and see the memorial and kind of get some kind of closure on that. You know, it was a really traumatic time. So that's one of the things I want to do, but if we're there for long enough, maybe we'll see a few other things. Maybe we'll go to the Empire State Building, I don't know. It'd be cool to do some filming there if I can, if they let people do that. And make a history video about the Empire State Building. So Justin says, did Queen Elizabeth have a similar shopping center? Yes. She had a main hall as well, and it was a similar shopping center, different layout, but still same basic idea. Higher ceilings, though, that's for sure. Queen Elizabeth's main hall had much taller ceilings. Granny Gaming says, I'm surprised that today is Friday. Time really does fly. It really does. It really, really does. Marty says, the best fish and chips I had in the USA was from the Cod Mother near Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. It's run by a British couple. Oh, wow. Okay, well, I will be in San Francisco in a couple months. So maybe we'll stop. Well, I don't know if we'll be able to stop there, but it'd be cool if I can and see if Cod Mother is still there and buy some fish and chips. Yeah, we'll be passing right through San Francisco because my father is going to be moving up here to the Portland area to be closer with me and my sister. And to get to Portland, we're actually going to be taking the 101, and that means we're going to be traveling through San Francisco. So I want to try to film a few things if I can while we're there, if there's time. That way I can make more videos, because, you know, San Francisco is another wonderful city full of history. You know, I did film a lot of stuff here in Portland, but history in Portland is really hard to find, because anything that has interesting history is either gone or is inaccessible. So which is ironic, because when I first came to Portland, there's a lot of old buildings here. Like Southern California, we don't have that many old buildings. Like our oldest buildings are like 1950s, you know, really not that old. But in Portland, there's houses and buildings here that date back to the Victorian era. You know, it's amazing. But as old as it is, there's not very much history. So, you know, I've filmed what I can, but there's not really much to make videos of. So, but San Francisco is the exact opposite. It's got lots of old buildings, but there's history everywhere. There's stuff to talk about all the time. Like, one of the things I want to film is Golden Gate Park, because there's a video I want to make about Golden Gate Park. You know, it's a fantastic story. I want to film the Presidio, so I can make a video about the Presidio. So, Granny Gaming says, what's the 101? It's a highway that travels up the western coast of the U.S. It goes from L.A. to maybe Seattle. LA to Seattle, I think. It's a highway. Cunard White Starling says, your videos are very good. Thank you so much. Marty says, they were opposite the tram stop at Fisherman's Wharf. I'm trying to think. Because I practically grew up in San Francisco. I've been there so many times in my life. So I'm trying to think. I don't recall there being a Cod Mother place there. So it must be newer than what I remember. But I'll check it out. I'll see if it's there. Ken says, do you think they would ever raise the boom cranes on Queen Mary's forward mast? It looks more dramatic that way. It does, but I don't think that they will, only because they know they don't take good care of the ship. So if they try to raise the boom cranes, then one day those ropes will fall into disrepair, and they may not fix them, and then the boom cranes will come slamming down on somebody. So I'm gonna try this little treat that I made. It's basically a pound cake, but it's got whipped cream and blackberry preserves in the middle. Ray Ann says, I grew up 50 miles south of San Francisco. I have a special fondness for the city, by the way. Oh, well, good. And yeah, I plan to make a lot of videos about San Francisco's history. I just need to film more stuff there because I made 2 videos so far, I think. But when I made them, they were really difficult to make because I didn't have enough of my own footage to do it. So I gotta get my own footage. Sterling says, love that the stuff in the U.S. that's old is Victorian era stuff. My local pub is from the 1400s, and that's considered oldish. I mean, yeah. You know, the oldest building in San Francisco is the, try to remember the name correctly, is the... is Mission San Francisco de Asís, which is also known as Mission Dolores. And it dates back to, again, trying off the top of my head, because I made a video about it. But off the top of my head, it dates back to the late 1600s. So that's pretty old for us, you know. It's, you know, Spanish. You go to New Orleans, that's another reason why I want to go to New Orleans, because New Orleans has even older buildings. There are buildings there that date to the mid-1600s. There's buildings there that, well, that might be an overstatement because a lot of them did burn down. Okay, well, they have a lot of buildings from the 1700s. And that's one of the reasons why I want to go there, because in most cities in the western United States, unless it's established by the Spanish, then the oldest buildings you'll find are Victorian-era buildings. Especially here in Portland, you know, Portland and San Francisco really weren't fully established, fully made out until the gold rush ages. But New Orleans is a very old city. You know, it's been around since it was first discovered, which I think was the 1500s, and so there's lots of old stuff there. So, but yeah, you're right. A lot of cities in the U.S. not that old at all. There's just, you know, we haven't been around that long. So, you know, I am obsessed with old buildings and old infrastructure, which is why I'm so obsessed with New Orleans. Like, I gotta go, I gotta see it. You know, it's beautiful, beautiful stuff. So, Marty says the best. Wait, Sterling says kind of like a Victorian sponge you have there. It kind of like a Victorian sponge. That's exactly what I was going for, actually. But yeah, I knew I didn't have the time to make one myself. Because I don't have a lot of time. Like, making videos is what uses up all my time. So I thought, okay, I'll throw something together, you know, that kind of resembles it. That's kind of the goal here. It's really quite delicious. I wanted to cut it up and make it more presentable, but I didn't. It was in the freezer, freezing, and it didn't freeze for long enough. I think I needed to give it more than 2 hours. I think it probably needed at least 4 hours. But otherwise, I would have gotten it fully frozen, and I would have been able to cut it up and make it look all presentable, but I just didn't have that kind of time. But yeah, let's see. So yeah, Marty says, best thing I visited in San Francisco was the Disney Family Museum in Presidio. The museum is run by the Disney family and has so much of Walt's own possessions. Yes, I actually was there when soon after it opened. So it was the same month, I believe, the same month that it opened for the first time. I was there. It was really wonderful. I want to go back, but I don't think we're only gonna be driving right through San Francisco when we do go. So we're not really going to have time to get out and check things out. But eventually I do want to stay in San Francisco for a couple days to film a lot of stuff to make videos about. So that's another one of those trips that I can probably do next year, because it won't cost that much for me to do it. So, and I'll have my friends meet me there and stuff. Cunard White Starling asks what tea I'm drinking and what's the food. So I was drinking Earl Grey. I'm gonna refill it, in fact. So it's not that warm, so I'm just gonna put some boiling water in there to kind of reheat it. And the food, so before I ate it all, I had homemade Scottish shortbread. I make homemade Scottish shortbread all the time for my live streams. I also had a cucumber tea sandwich. I love making those. Those are really easy to make, and they're really delicious. And then this is just a special, like, quickly slapped together pastry that I made. And it's basically a pound cake, and then in between the layers is whipped cream and blackberry preserves. I wanted to use strawberry preserves, but when I went to buy the strawberry, because I'm not going to make strawberry preserves, like, I don't have time, but I went to buy the strawberry preserves, and it was too expensive. It was like $8. I was like, I'm not doing that. So I bought some blackberry preserves. Blackberries are really plentiful here in the Pacific Northwest, so I've noticed that blackberries and raspberries are rather cheap to buy up here. I mean, heck, every year, we have blackberry bushes all around the property, and they grow like weeds. So every year we go out and we pick a ton of blackberries, and I know, like, last year I made a blackberry pie out of it, so... okay, I'm probably gonna say your name wrong, so I apologize. But it's either De Juan or De Juan. Says that they're from New Orleans, and yes, we have buildings from the 1700s. Yes, I'm fascinated by New Orleans. I can't wait to go. Like, I'm literally, it's been on my mind every day now that we're planning it out. Like, I even asked my father today, I said, hey, would you be interested in going with me and my friend? Because he's been to New Orleans before. He went in 2003, before Hurricane Katrina. And, hopefully that's hot enough. So he went there before Hurricane Katrina, and he loved it, and he's always wanted to go back. And so I asked him, I said, well, would you go with us? And so he was excited. He was like, yeah, I'll go with you, He was really excited. All right. We want to stay, oh, what am I doing? I want to go to New Orleans, but I don't want to stay in one of those, like, fancy hotels. Like, they have these old houses in the French Quarter. They used to be small manors, and, in the front they have the main living quarters, and in the back, where there would normally be, like, a courtyard, they have, like, old servants' quarters or slaves' quarters that have been converted to hotel rooms. A lot of those are supposedly really haunted. And so I want to stay in one of those, not because it's haunted, but because there's a lot of history there. I don't want to stay at a brand new hotel. Like, anybody could stay at a brand new hotel. I want to stay in a historic building. And so that's one of the things we want to do, is we want to stay in one of those places. And if it is haunted, I want to try to see if I can get some proof of that. I'm not, for all you folks out there who are paranormal enthusiasts, I'm not a paranormal enthusiast at all. That's not who I am. But if I'm going to stay at a place that I know is haunted, I'm going to at least try to get some footage of it and see if it's haunted. But yeah, so That's one of the things I want to do when we go there. Granny Gaming says, "What is that loud background noise?" It's the tea kettle, or that tea kettle, the water boiling thing. It is a kettle. It's a water kettle. Ratupiep says, "Will you visit and film the historic boats in San Francisco?" I don't think so. I've visited them before, and it's not my thing. There's no ocean liners there. You know, there's military ships and stuff, especially like the SS Jeremiah O'Brien. I've been there. I've taken pictures of it. It's cool, but it's not like it doesn't pique my interest. So, so yeah. If they had like an ocean liner there or some other kind of passenger steamship that dated back to, the early 1900s, I'm talking like 1910s or before that, then yeah, but I don't think there is one. So yeah. You should come visit. I literally go in the French Quarter just to take pictures of the old buildings. Oh yeah, I'm definitely. I mean, like I said, we might go in spring, so because it's definitely a more affordable trip than going to the UK for sure. So, I have money set aside for the UK, but I've also been setting aside money for a New Orleans trip. So I'm really excited to go. It's most certainly going to happen next year. It's just a matter of when. And I'm excited. I'm going to film so much stuff for the channel, like lots of really nice quality footage. And anybody who makes videos about New Orleans and stuff like that, like, they're free to use my footage. I've always been open about sharing my footage that's on my channel with people because I know I capture like footage that is easily reusable. So that's one of the things I want to do is I want to capture some really nice, clean footage of the whole city that I can use for tons of videos in the future. My friend really wants to take the ghost tour, which we're definitely going to do. When you go to New Orleans, like I said, I'm not a paranormal enthusiast, but New Orleans is known for their stories and their beliefs in the paranormal and all that stuff, and you have to indulge in it, So, so good. Hello, Mr. Zantastico. Please don't spam the chat. Let's see. So somebody asked me a question earlier, and I don't see it anymore. Oh, there we go. Justin says, "Are you a fan or a supporter of the SS United States?" I am not a fan of the SS United States. And the reason why is because I generally prefer ships, like most all my favorite ships are from before World War II. So I just don't like the mid-century ships. The Queen Elizabeth II, or the QE2 as many people know, it's an interesting ship. I don't like the aesthetics of the ship. It's not my thing. But I appreciate the history of that ship. I also like the Queen Mary II, which is, it went into service in 2004, so it's a very new ship. So I don't like it for the same reasons I like the original Queen Mary, but I like the Queen Mary II because it's the last remaining ocean liner in service, and it's a Cunard ship, and it is pretty beautiful for what it is. So, but the SS United States, I'm not a fan of it. I don't I don't like the interior styles. It's not my thing. It's a lot of it is synthetic materials, which I understand why they put synthetic materials there, but it's synthetic materials. I don't like synthetic materials that much. I don't like the aesthetics or the color schemes or anything about the SS United States or its shape or its size or what it looks like. It's not my thing. I'm not a fan of SS United States. But am I a supporter of it? Yes. I would hate for SS United States to be scrapped because we already don't have very many ocean liners left, to be seen as museums and such. So, I don't want one more ocean liner to be lost. So yeah, I'm a supporter of it, but I'm not a fan of it. Well, don't expect anybody to see videos about SS United States on my channel because I do not like the SS United States. So yeah, but I am a supporter of it. Let's see. Did you know that Disneyland, Fantasyland, Dark Rides got repaints to their facades in the late 70s? Yes. Like I said, Haley, it'll be very difficult to stump me on history. Sequad, hello. You were here earlier. Hey, Conrad, how's it going? Conrad says, just read today that the Queens, Mary and Elizabeth, could only dock in New York City at the time when the tides changed when the Hudson was at its calmest. Yes, because when they built the Hudson Tunnel, before the Hudson Tunnel, they could go in and out any time, pretty much. But when they built the Hudson Tunnel, Cunard had told the construction company, don't build it there, because we won't be able to get our ships through, because it would severely decrease the amount of space that was between the bed of the river and the keel of the ships. So when they built the Hudson Tunnel, they built it anyway. And so Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth could only sail in during the highest river levels of the day, which really impacted their schedule. So, but they kept going, and that was one of the advantages of the QE2 was that she didn't have such a deep draft. So it was actually easier to get her in and out of the Hudson River. But yeah, Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, they had difficulty towards the end. And I think the Hudson Tunnel, yeah, it was built, yeah, they pretty much had trouble for it since the 1940s. So yeah, it was, a big issue. Rytupiep says, will you be going on the steamboats in New Orleans? Well, there's only technically one steamboat in New Orleans. The rest are all electric. Diesel electric, I should say. But the one steamboat they have, which is the Natchez, I do want to ride the Natchez. But the Natchez is undergoing repairs right now because it caught fire a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago. So, hopefully it returns very soon because we really want to ride aboard the Natchez. Like I said, it's the last remaining actual steamboat on the Mississippi River. So, it will be very exciting. We really want to do that. We're going to have lunch aboard the boat. So, yeah, definitely part of the trip. Hello, Sequad. Granny says, as there's still a ship that travels across the Atlantic, is there a ship that travels the Pacific? An ocean liner that travels the Pacific? No. There's only one ocean liner left in service in the entire world, and that is the Queen Mary 2. There was what was the other one? There was another one that was in service up until recently, but in 2020 it was up for sale, and it's still up for sale, so it's technically not in service. But that was also a North Atlantic liner. But yeah, the only ocean liner left in service in the entire world is Queen Mary 2. Steve Quad says, how are you? I'm doing good. I'm hanging in there. Let's see. Cunard White Sarn says, do you like the Titanic? Yeah, I like the Titanic. I'm not obsessed with it like some people are, but I like the Titanic. Yeah, I like Olympic. I probably might like Olympic more than Titanic. I don't like Britannic at all. But yeah, I do like the Titanic. Conrad says, do you like the funnels on the SS United States? No. No, I do not. They look like they're wearing baseball caps backwards. I don't like it. Oh, I see, C-Quad. You had some kind of glitch on the tablet. Let's see. Maribel says, Alex, what if Californian saves Titanic before Carpathia? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know much about the events of Titanic, and I don't really talk about them on my channel just because a lot of people know way more about them than I do, and they get obsessed about the details, and when I get the details wrong, they get really upset. So, Marty says, we did a relocation cruise in 2019 from Long Beach to Singapore. 25 days. Hawaii, Guam, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Singapore. Wow. That is a long trip. But it must have been really fun. Yeah, I don't see myself taking a cruise, My friend said, hey, what if we took a cruise? And I'm like, cruises are not my thing. But I do plan to take a transatlantic crossing aboard the Queen Mary too, because that's more traditional. But I'm not a cruise person. Justin says, have you heard of the Columbia River and even the Yukon Rivers area steamboats? I have, in fact. Eventually, I'll make videos about them. How's the train table coming along? It's not going along very far. It will require hundreds of dollars to continue, and I'm trying to save that money for other trips that will actually help benefit the channel. So so it's not really going anywhere at the moment. Carl Trotter says, greetings from Glasgow, home of the 20th century Cunard shipbuilding. Yes, definitely. So, hello. Yeah, Glasgow is one of those places I wanted to visit on my UK trip, but again, it's a long way to go just to see a couple of things that I wouldn't be able to add much to the videos. But we did look into going to Glasgow. Especially Clydebank. Mr. Zantastico says, do you know about the RMS Caronia? And if you do, what is your opinion on it? I don't know much about RMS Caronia, but I do know about it. Caronia was okay. You see, I can't picture it in my head, so I couldn't tell you. I'm still very new. Like, I have to learn ocean liners one by one, because I know a lot of you folks have had years to see and learn about these ocean. I've only had 2 years, so it's not much. And I've spent most of that time learning about Queen Mary, so when I talk about ocean liners, I have to, like, go one by one and learn about each one of them. And that takes time. It takes books and books of research. So I actually don't know much about ocean liners outside of a select few that I've already started reading about, such as Titanic, Queen Mary, Mauretania, SS Oceanic 2, I guess people would call it 2 because it's from 1899, Lusitania, Queen Elizabeth, QE2, and Queen Mary 2. So those 8 basic ocean liners are the most of what I know so far about ocean liners. So, and I know a lot about Johann von Oldenbarnevelt because I've been doing a lot of research about the Barnevelt. Oh, also Princess Louise. I did a video about the SS Princess Louise, so I know about... So that's 10. So 10 ships so far I've learned. But as you know, most of you guys know at least 50 different ships. So, you know, it's going to take a while for me to catch up and be able to tell you anything about them. I don't like Britannic because I don't like the way she looked on the outside. Let's see. KY Cat says, why do you think Titanic has remained the most popular ocean liner disaster? Media, honestly. Because it's not any more of an extraordinary story than, you know, than the Wilhelm Gustloff or SS Lancastria, you know, or even Lusitania. It's not any more extraordinary than those stories. You know, Titanic crashed into an iceberg. And maybe it's that kind of simplicity that makes it so appealing, but I think there's more than that. I think really it's media. I think the fact that people keep making stories about Titanic keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated in media to the point where it's the only one that most people remember. You know, you go to any person off the street, pick them off the street and go, hey, can you tell me what happened with, you know, Wilhelm Gustloff? They go, the what? You know, like they have no idea what Wilhelm Gustloff is. You say Titanic. Tell me what happened to Titanic. They go, oh yeah, it crashed into an iceberg. Like everybody knows. And so, you know, so it's one of those things where media has played a huge part in getting people to remember Titanic. And media does it because it's an easy story for people to remember, you know. And of course, you know, there's been countless successful movies about Titanic, including James Cameron's movie, which was the most successful Titanic movie of all time. Oh, Justin, you're welcome. Thank you. I'm just really glad that people watch my channel. I do all this research. Like, I may not know much about ships. Like, I've only been interested for the last 2 years. But when I dive into something, I really dive in. I buy all kinds of books and do all kinds of research and just crazy stuff just to learn about this stuff. And I try to do it because I want to present stories and things that are at least done in a way that people haven't heard before. And so, you know, like the Lancastria disaster. There's been a couple of videos on YouTube about Lancastria, but I'd like to think that mine is the most engaging. So, you know, that's what I do. Conrad said, did the heat wave break today as expected? The heat wave broke on August 2nd, but today is the first day of a second heat wave. So there's another heat wave coming. But I have an air conditioner now, so I'm not really that worried. Conrad says, what type of sandwich did you have today? I had a cucumber tea sandwich, like I usually have. And then right now I'm having kind of like a little treat. It's a lemon pound cake with blackberry preserves and whipped cream. Let's see. Yeah, Justin, exactly. You know, like, one of the things I always get flack for is people, you know, well, not me particularly, but there's a lot of Titanic fans. When I make Queen Mary content, they go, you know, Queen Mary just doesn't hold a candle to Titanic, and I'm like, you know, I think that's such an unfair and very biased opinion, because Queen Mary lasted much longer than Titanic. She had an amazing history. And the other thing too is people love to say these words, you guys. Like, listen to this. People love to say Titanic was fancier than Queen Mary. I laugh when I hear that, because it's not true at all. Queen Mary was way more luxurious than Titanic. True, she's not built in Edwardian style like Titanic was, but that doesn't make her any less fancy. In fact, she was more luxurious than Titanic because she offered twice as many luxuries than Titanic could have. You know, it's amazing when you think about it. Like, you know, Titanic had one gimpy little swimming pool. Queen Mary had two massive swimming pools, one of them for first class being a double-decker swimming pool complete with a Turkish bath right next door. And the Turkish baths were complete with the latest stuff of, you know, Turkish bathing. And, you know, frankly, I don't feel like going down that rabbit hole because there's a whole lot of stuff. But when you really research the two ships, Queen Mary is way, way, way more luxurious than Titanic. She was designed to be that way. She's 20 years newer. You know, she has to be more luxurious than Titanic, because people traveling aboard Queen Mary in the 1930s, you know, they're not the same as their grandparents who rode aboard ships like Olympic. You know, they expect more. It's just like today, when we go to a fancy resort or something, like let's say Disneyland, we expect our experiences to be better than the ones our grandparents have. And depending on your opinion, you can say either they did or they didn't. But I will say that I think if I stayed in the Disneyland Hotel today, I would enjoy it a lot more than I would have enjoyed it 20 years ago, or even, 40 years ago. There's more amenities. There's more things. It's a better experience overall. It may not have everything I want, but that's a whole different story. But so that's the thing. Like, Queen Mary was way more luxurious than Titanic, but because she doesn't have these Edwardian styles, she's Art Deco, people automatically go, oh, but it's not as fancy. And the truth is it's not a matter of fanciness. It's really a matter of, do you love Art Deco more, or do you love Edwardian styles more? And when people say Titanic was fancier than Queen Mary, it's what they're really saying is they prefer Edwardian styles and design. And that's fine. That's fine. I know people who love Victorian styles and design. That's perfectly fine with me. I prefer Art Deco over the other two, but I can still love and appreciate the other styles of design. So, so that's the thing, is that that's why I laugh when people tell me, like, oh, Titanic is fancier than Queen Mary. It's like, not by a long shot. Not by a long shot. So, CY Cat says, since you've mentioned both those ships, did you know that the actor who played J.J. Astor in the James Cameron movie actually survived the Gustloff? Really? That I didn't know. Let's see. Fantastico says, Alex, I'm very curious about this, but how was your YouTube adventure from making Disney videos to making ocean liner videos, like the Queen Mary and these streams? I'm not sure what you're asking. How was your YouTube adventure form? I think what you're asking is, why did I change from making Disney videos to making ocean liner videos? Well, first and foremost, my channel is not an ocean liner channel. Yes, there's a lot of ocean liner videos, but there's videos about other things besides ocean liners, and there's going to continue to be things besides ocean liners. Hence the trips I want to take to the UK and to New Orleans and to San Francisco to film more stuff about stuff that's non-ocean liners. And there's, and I also already have footage of the H4 Hercules, so I can make a video about the Hercules, which is the Spruce Goose as well. So, that's an airplane. So, it's going to be the history in the steam era, basically, and before that even, because when I go to New Orleans, there's definitely going to be history from before that. So, yeah, so I guess if you're asking why did I go from making exclusively Disney videos to this, I mean, to summarize it so I don't take up all everybody's time, basically it just had to do with the fact that people stopped watching my videos. So, I was exclusively a Disney history channel. It was fun at the time. I was kind of losing interest in Disney because, I had to move away from Disneyland. I moved 1,000 miles north. And so I couldn't visit the park as much, but things changed within the company as well. The company changed dramatically since the pandemic started. And it's no longer the same company it was, 10 years ago when I enjoyed it a lot, and it's definitely not the same company it was when I was a kid in the 1990s. So it's definitely just changed. So, but mainly, again, it has to do with the fact that people stopped watching my videos. I would put out a video about Disney history. I would put out a video about, say, I don't know, Star Tours, right? And it would get about 10,000 views within a couple weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks. That was good for me back then. But then what would happen is, after the pandemic happened, you'd think that more people would have been watching YouTube, and they were, but they weren't watching my channel. And I would put out a video about, like, Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever, and it would get, like, 1,000 views, which was 1/10 of what I would get. 1/10. It was really bad. And, and I was noticing that it just kept going down and down and down. Every time I put out a video, I'd spend weeks making a video. And then I'd put it out, and then it would get a couple hundred views. So people were just not watching my channel anymore. And I realized that the channel was just dying. And if it kept dying, it would have been too expensive to keep running, because it does cost money to do all the stuff I do. It takes investments. I have to buy equipment. I have to replace old equipment. I have to buy new computers when they, or upgrade computers when they go out. Like, so I've had to upgrade my old computer once, and I've upgraded this computer once so far. So in order to maintain the amount of stuff I do for the channel, it costs money here and there throughout the month, all the time. And it was becoming too expensive to run the channel when there was only a couple hundred views per video. And so I kept telling everybody in live streams and stuff, I'm like, watch more of my videos, because otherwise I'm going to have to change the content. And so after a full year, because it was all throughout 2020 that happened, for a full year, nothing changed. It kept getting worse. And so in 2021, I decided to switch over. And I started easing into ocean liner videos and other types of videos. And I spent all of 2021 slowly going from Disney to a bunch of other stuff towards December. And then by the start of this year, I was pretty much on an exclusive schedule of pretty much everything but Disney stuff. I'm not done making Disney stuff, but I can't produce it as often because it just doesn't generally get that many views. But the exception was my recent Disneyland history video about the creation of Disneyland by Walt Disney. That one actually became pretty popular. It's got 45,000 views. So that was actually pretty good. That was worth that was worth the couple of weeks it took to make that video. So that was nice. Yeah, that was nice. But that's why. Yeah, Queen Mary's pool had 2 diving boards, and it had a slide, a water slide. It was a little slide. It was like a 8-foot long slide, but it was a slide. That was for sure. Fallon Will says, Alex, was Oceanic bigger than Titanic? Oh no, Titanic was far bigger than Oceanic. Yeah, Oceanic was, if I remember correctly, Oceanic was just a little over 600 feet long. Just a little over 600 feet long. Titanic was 882 feet long. So it was it was at least 200 feet longer. And then, of course, when you measure size, like, I don't remember the tonnage of Oceanic. Titanic was 42,000 gross tons. Oceanic was around the 20,000 gross register tons, I believe. I should know. I'm in the middle of making a video about Oceanic. I've got my research and everything strewn out everywhere for Oceanic, so I should know this. My 2PM says, do you like Art Deco planes from the 20s and 30s? I'm not much of an plane person, so no. I don't really like planes. That's okay, Mr. Zantastico. History of my Jason Carr says the history of Titanic versus Queen Mary is totally different. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, that's why I said that statement, you know, because some people... The reason why I made that statement is because there was one person who literally cussed me out in my video. They wrote a comment in my video cussing me out because I was comparing Titanic to Queen Mary, and it wasn't a comparison of who's better. It was a comparison of what's different, what's the same. It was about Titanic and Queen Mary, and this person wrote a comment cussing me out, and they said that Titanic had a much better history than Queen Mary. And I'm like, how? Titanic, you know, was around for a couple of days in service. Queen Mary was around for 31 years in service. And even now, she's still around. 55 years after she was retired, she's sitting in Long Beach right now. She's got a much bigger, wider, more fantastic history than Titanic. So that's why I said that, was because I get these crazy people who attack me in my videos because I'm not saying what they want to hear. It's, you know, it's ridiculous. I just remembered a conversation last night on a video. It wasn't my video, it was somebody else's video, but this person made a joke in the comment section of somebody else's video, and I thought, that's a funny joke, I'll add to it. So I added to it, and this person came back so offended. They misunderstood my joke entirely. They thought I was, like, against what they said, and they came back and they were just, like, spewing just sourness, and I was just like, wow. You know, like, I was not doing anything. I just added to your joke. Like, where did all this come from? You know, it was so, yeah. People are getting really wild. It's weird. Mr. Zantastico said, Alex, what inspired you to make the Montparnasse train wreck video? My friend Eric, about 6 months ago, mentioned it. Eric was like, hey, Alex, you got to really talk about this train video. And so I was like, well, not train video, but he said, you got to talk about this train wreck. And I thought, you know, I didn't know much about the train wreck at the time. So I kind of did a quick browse, and I'm like, I don't think I want to, you know, but then a little voice in my head said, yeah, but Alex, you got to produce more than just ocean liner stuff. You got to keep producing non-ocean liner stuff once in a while. So I thought, all right, it's not going to hurt to look into it. So I put it on my schedule. So all my videos are on a schedule that's like literally 12 months long worth of videos that I have to produce. And so it was 6 months in on that. And so 6 months later, it was time to start working on the Montparnasse train wreck video. So I did some more research about it, and I thought this is actually a pretty interesting story. The only problem with it is that it's a very short story. A really short, like I prefer to make videos that are anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes long. Because those get the most views, and people tend to like that length of time. It's not too short, it's not too long. But it was a really short story. And so I was like, all right, well, it's interesting, so I'm still going to make it. And yeah, that's why I did the Montparnasse train wreck video. But my friend did have to wait 6 months, and he didn't even remember that he told me. He goes, I said to him, I said, oh, I think you'll like my next video. And he goes and watches it, and he goes, oh, wow. And he goes, where'd you hear about this? And I'm like, you told me. And he goes, I did? I'm like, yeah. I was like, you told me 6 months ago. So that's pretty funny. Ryan G says you really pissed him off. I really did, yeah. Jason says, we really live in a soft world nowadays. Can't say anything without offending someone. Exactly. You know, like, I try to make this channel different. You know, like, I do my best to let everybody say their thing. You know, like, just because I may not agree with your point of view doesn't mean I'm gonna, like, answer back and be all angry and then delete your comment or whatever. I may just leave your comment there and just be like, okay, well, I don't agree with them, so I'm not going to respond or something like that. But you know, I try to let people, like, say what they want to say, because I'm a true believer in, you know, there's an old saying in this country, in the U.S., that, how does it go? I don't want to sound like an idiot by repeating it wrong. It kind of goes, I don't agree with what you're saying, but I will defend your right to say it. That's something we used to say in this country before this whole divisiveness thing. And I still believe that. You know, I may not agree with what everybody says or their opinions on anything. You know, sometimes I don't agree with people's politics or whatever, but I do believe that, you know, if someone has a differing opinion to present, then I will defend their right to say it. Where I draw the line on my channel actually is more about trying to personally insult me or trying to bully or harass people on my channel. You know, if someone wants to present their opposing opinion in a academic manner, you know, they want to have a conversation about it, then I'm fine with that. They can say almost anything. I say almost anything because there are some things that still cross the line. But you know, pretty much anything, if someone has something, a completely opposing opinion, I'm fine with leaving it on the channel. But it's where people try to be rude that I kind of draw the line, because I can't stand rudeness. I can stand other people's opinions. I grew up in a family that is all over the place. Yeah, I've got family that is, you know, extremely right-wing. You know, I've got family that is extremely left-wing, and I've got family that's all in between. You know, some of us like certain things, some of us like other things. So I grew up in a family where everybody lives completely different lives. And every year we would come together and have a really pleasant family reunion, and we would express our ideas and our thoughts, and we would share our interests and our disinterests. Like the last time I have family members that live in like Georgia, you know, they're Republican and right wing and whatever, and they go out and they hunt and stuff like that. I grew up in a life in Southern California where I don't need to go hunting. I don't need to, you know, to own a gun or do anything like that. You know, I'm not liberal by no means, but I'm really more moderate. But nevertheless, I grew up in a family where everybody had a completely different life, and we all respected each other's way of living. And so, you know, and so when someone would express their opinion, you know, we would just kind of like talk about it, you know, and so we wouldn't sit there insulting each other and drawing lines in the sand. You know, it was a really productive environment to live in, actually. And you got to hear what everybody thinks. That's why I'm a moderate, is because I don't see everything polarized. I see a great, like, spectrum of varying opinions. And so that's one of the things I wanted to do on my channel, was to create an environment where people could disagree with each other, but do it in a civil way, you know? And so, yeah. So that's pretty much it. But yeah, I don't know how I got on that subject. Eternal Travels says, this channel really helped me get out of my Titanic bubble. This channel helped me get into the Queen Mary, and she honestly became my favorite ship. Oh, wow. That's so cool. I'm really glad to hear that, actually, because, you know, I love Titanic. I really do. But there are ships out there that I think are far more fascinating. You know, that their stories aren't told as much, especially the Queen Mary. I mean, you know, granted, a lot of us are ocean liner fans, so we heard of the Queen Mary, we know about the Queen Mary, but again, ask the average person off the street, and you go, hey, do you know the Queen Mary? And they're like, the what? You know, it's like they don't know. And so it would be really cool to kind of get people to learn more about other really cool ships, even if it's not the Queen Mary. My thing is the Queen Mary. That's why I talk so much about it. But you know, it's cool to hear when people kind of start developing interest in other stuff. Mr. Fantastico says, I was literally shocked that you had that long of a schedule. I really do. That's why I tell people, like, I don't usually take suggestions on ocean liner videos, because I already have a huge list of videos to make, and I would probably never be able to get to those videos that they suggested till like a year later. But the other thing too is that sometimes I may not want to do the videos that people suggest. But that's not to say that suggestions are not accepted, because again, my friend, he suggested to me the Montparnasse train wreck, and honestly, at first I told him, I'm like, I don't know. But then when I actually researched it, I was kind of like, actually, this is interesting. So even though I may not always like the things people suggest, sometimes it actually works out to be a really good subject that I actually find interesting. So I don't know, but I will say this to anybody who wants to suggest content to me: don't expect it to happen, because either I may not find interest in it, or maybe it will take 12 months before I even get to it. So that's all I say to people, but it is kind of cool. Let's see. Donald Jen says, just got back from the Queen in the Med? The Queen in the Med. Alex, you need 330T, and soon. Amazing. Okay. Justin says, not just the amount of ships in the world, but the amount of companies that operated them. All of them with unique and interesting histories from around the world. Absolutely. Cunard says, your defense of people's right to voice their opinion is admirable. I believe you can't have too much discussion. Truth welcomes scrutiny. Exactly. Truth welcomes scrutiny. Exactly. Yeah. Brian says, all ships are fascinating in some way or another. I think so too, in some way or another. It's like I was saying earlier to Daniel, because he said, oh, or was it Daniel or was it Rytupia? Well, one of them said, like when I go to San Francisco next to like visit other ships, and I've been to the SS Jeremiah O'Brien. It's a Liberty ship, and I'm not into World War II vessels. But hold on. Yeah, I'm not into World War II vessels, which is why I don't see myself making a video about it. But I will say that even though I'm not particularly interested in World War II vessels, I still had a fun time going on tours aboard the SS Jeremiah O'Brien. And I think my favorite part of that whole experience on that Liberty ship was the engine room, which, for those of you who don't know, they actually filmed the engine room of SS Jeremiah O'Brien to do the engine room scenes of the movie Titanic, James Cameron's Titanic. So where you see the engines rotating in the movie, that's the SS Jeremiah O'Brien. So I actually went down into that engine room. It's really neat. There's only one engine. But it's cool, you know. And so I have interest in that. Like, when my friend and I go to the UK, he really wants to go to the HMS Belfast, which is sitting on the Thames in London. And again, I'm not into warships, but the HMS Belfast has some really cool engine rooms and interiors and just a lot of really neat stuff to see. And so, you know, even though I'm not into warships, I think I'll have a fun time being on that ship. So, yeah, so that's one of those things where it's just like you said, Brian, is that all ships are fascinating in some ways or another. Yeah, that's a good point. Ryan says, the Queen took my grandfather to World War II front in Europe. He told me he had a model of it. So I always remember that from as a kid. He had interest in the Queen Mary. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, you know what's funny is somewhere I have photo albums of my great-grandfather, and I put the photo albums away so long ago, but I have them somewhere. And I do know he was in World War II, and he was transported aboard a ship. My brain is telling me, Alex, that ship was the Queen Mary. But I don't remember what he told me. He didn't tell me very much about the war. It was never really on his mind. So we never really discussed it. And back then, I was a teenager. I didn't really care about World War II. All I cared about was my hair. But now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh man, I should have asked him about World War II. I should have asked him about, you know, what ship it was he took across the Atlantic. But he has photos of himself aboard said ship. And I gotta find those. And I'm gonna look and see if I recognize any of the interiors of Queen Mary. Because Queen Mary's interiors are very distinctive. If you see them, even a piece of it in the background of someone's photo, you know it's Queen Mary. And so, I'm going to eventually find those photos and look through them and see if I see any photos of the Queen Mary. So, yeah. Let's see. Tyler says, I know I've said it before, but you, Alex, are a cool dude. Thank you. Cunard White Stallion says, just completed a research project on a suburb which I live in. Oh, nice. KY Cat says, if you ever look deeper into the sinking of the Empress of Ireland, be prepared to at least be slightly traumatized by it. Oh, geez. Yeah, I've heard that it's pretty crazy. Granny Gaming is laughing at my hair comment. It's true. It's true. When you're in high school, all you really care about is the way you look. And oh my gosh, I was obsessed with the way I looked in high school. So, yeah. High school was a crazy time, wasn't it? You know what's funny about high school is it has this way of making you feel like the world ends at like the tip of your nose, basically, you know? Which is another way of saying selfish, but in a way it's kind of true. I mean, you kind of feel like everything that happened in those years is like the defining moment of your life. Which is so funny, because I look back on it now, I'm like, nothing I did in high school has had any effect on my life currently. So, but back then, like, it just has a way of making you feel like everything you do is really important, and if something gets screwed up, your whole life's going to be screwed up. And it's just hilarious, so it's just like... But that same thing is what leads people to do some really sad things, you know, like taking their own life and stuff like that. So that's why it's like really important. I think a lot of people ignore teenagers because, I mean, granted, teenagers are a pain in the neck. Like, I will admit that. Even I was a pain in the neck. And I was a nice teenager, too. But I was still a pain in the neck. But the thing is, like, teenagers are one of the most vulnerable people out there. Because, like I said, in those years, everything feels like anything that happens will have a drastic effect on the rest of your life. And, of course, it's just hormones and stuff that make you feel that way. But they're the most susceptible to that kind of stuff. People should ignore teenagers less and try to understand them better, I suppose. I know that's what I would have wanted. I would have wanted more adults to have at least treated me with a little bit more respect and more understanding, and a lot less like a child. That's for sure. Justin says, I'm a moderate as well. Definitely, I'm most things. Yeah, definitely. Steve is here. Steve says, I got barbecue steak, medium rare, baked potato, and beans ready for you, Alex. Oh, that sounds so good. My friend Steve, this is the other Steve. This is, this as I say, Steve R. He's in Montana right now. He's having barbecue. Oh my gosh, it sounds so good. I was just telling him that I kind of miss when like a friend or somebody would like start up a barbecue and like a bunch of us would come over with like stuff, like, you know, it'd be like a, you know, I'd bring like sides, other people would bring sides, and someone would make hamburgers or ribs or, you know, or whatever. And I kind of miss that, you know. I haven't had that in a long time. So, gosh. Yeah. Barbecue steak. Yep. Yep. Crazy years in our youth. When I was in my 20s, all I wanted to be was 30. Now that I'm 30, all I want to be is in my early 20s. I feel like I wasted so many years of my life. Especially my years at Disneyland. I mean, I made memories there that I would not trade for anything in the world. But at times, I kind of wish I had never been there. I feel like I wasted so much. So many different things I could have done. But, oh well, you know. You can't dwell on the past. You just have to live in the now and you know, do things that make you happy now. So, Conrad says, with all this talk about barbecue, it sounds like you're talking yourself into going hunting, Alex. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny, you know, like, have I been hunting before? I don't think so. I did go shooting before. But it wasn't hunting. We were just, you know, we were like shooting like tin cans and stuff. But yeah, hunting, I don't know. And when in culinary school, I learned a lot about like how to, you know, carve up beef and chicken and stuff like that. So, you know, carve up lamb, and so I know how to clean up a carcass and all that. It's not pleasant, but I know how to do it. So if I did go hunting, at least I would kind of know those skills. The only thing I don't know is the skinning part. That's the thing I don't know, because I never had to do that in culinary school. At worst, in culinary school, we got the carcass without the skin. But, you know, yeah. I know I would probably be really good at fishing. Once we caught the fish, I could gut the fish. I could descale the fish. If it had edible scales, then I wouldn't need to worry about that. That's for sure. But, Maribel says, hey Alex, Titanic wouldn't sink in 1912. And April 17th, Titanic made it to New York. Or are you saying if Titanic didn't sink, then it would have made it to New York on the 17th? Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Conrad says, did you make the cake or buy it? I made it, but it's... So, the cake itself is from a box. Now, I could have made it myself. In fact, when my sister had her birthday a couple months ago, I made her a huge cake from scratch. Like, completely from scratch. It was a lot of ingredients, and I decorated it and everything myself. You know, I went to culinary school, so I know how to decorate a cake. We used to decorate wedding cakes and stuff. So I did this whole thing myself. Took 2 full days to do. And I thought about doing that for making this. I thought, oh, I'll just make stuff from scratch. But then I remembered back to why I hate making cakes. Because I love making breads. I went to culinary school specifically to learn breads. I ended up learning cakes along the way, but I don't like making cakes. So what I did was I bought a box of cake mix, and I made it. And then what I did was I put blackberry preserves and whipped cream in the middle. So it's essentially the same thing. I could have made it myself, but it's a lot of work. Donald says, you are making me hungry. Will we ever get the ultimate Queen Mary buffet again? It was so amazing and huge. COVID is in the rearview mirror, so it's possible. So is it possible? Yeah, it is possible. But I don't know. I know that there's Sunday brunch, which is what they would do with their Sunday brunch, was becoming slightly less popular. But they were still doing it. So maybe they'll start it up again. I'm not sure. Or maybe this might have been their chance to just axe it completely. So I don't know. It would be nice to experience the Sunday brunch. Conrad says, I love making cakes because it means you get to eat cake. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the one I made for my sister on her birthday, oh, best cake I've ever had in my life. Not just because I made it, but because I never tried that recipe before. It was a type of lemon cake. It was so good. It was so good, and the layers of cake had a lemon simple syrup that I had soaked into the cake. So the cake was really moist because I had soaked it with the lemon simple syrup. It was so good. And then the icing on it was a lemon cream cheese frosting. It was like a cream cheese buttercream frosting, to be honest. That's pretty much what it was. It was like buttercream, but it was with cream cheese as well. So it was so good. It was addicting. You had it was just like, oh my god, like it was one of the best cakes I've ever had in my life. So now when she had her wedding, we went to we went to a local Portland favorite. There's this place in Portland. They're a bakery, but they also make really good wedding cakes. We went there to get her wedding cake ordered and stuff, and they gave us all kinds of samples and stuff so we could try out the different cakes, and a lot of them were good. But the problem with wedding cakes is that they're cake, yeah, but they're not the best cakes you've ever had. And I'm not saying that about the bakery. It's just in general, wedding cakes just generally aren't that amazing unless you really ask for something spectacular. John says, hey Alex, you changed the frame poster on your wall. Yeah, this is the original poster that I had hanging when I first started doing these live streams. The reason why I swapped it back out, first of all, was because I figured, why should I have only one here all the time? I could easily swap it out. But the other reason too is because I have a power outlet here. The lower socket has the air conditioner plugged in. The top socket has the has the kettle plugged in, and the other poster is really large. It's so large it covers up the top outlet. So I couldn't have it there. I had to swap it out with the smaller one. So that's what I did. But maybe on a day where I don't need the air conditioner, you'll see the other one here in its place. So it's kind of funny that way. Let's see. Maloney says, I have some items from Cunard and Cunard White Star that I'd like to donate to your tea time and channel. What? Really? Wow. That'd be really cool. But the only thing is that I currently don't have a way for people to send those items to me. So unfortunately, I will have to decline for now because I don't have a way of getting people to send me stuff. So that sucks. But anywho, well, how long have we been doing this live stream? We started at 4. It's now 6:43, so it's been 2 hours and 43 minutes. Wow. I did not know we've been on here that long. It only feels like an hour and 45 minutes. Well, in that case, I should bring the live stream to an end because it has taken a while. I'm almost done with this pastry. But anyway, and I'm already done with my tea. Conrad says, I think you set a record. No, I did not. A couple tea times ago, I did 3 hours and 15 minutes. I didn't mean to, but I just kept talking to people, so we ended up going to 3 hours and 15 minutes. Ironically, that live stream has the most views than all the other live streams combined. Well, not combined, but all the other live streams before it. So I think people really liked that 3 hour long live stream. I don't know why. But, yeah, I gotta end this one. Alrighty. Well, this has been fun, folks. I really enjoyed it. And it's been a while since I did a tea time live stream. So, let's see. Today's Friday. I'll do another tea time on Sunday. Try to get back into my original schedule of tea times. Sundays, Wednesdays are the usual schedule. And then, let's see. I'm currently working on a video. I think it'll be out next Friday. Yeah, next Friday. And then from there, I'm going to try to put out like a major history video or something about every week or something like that. So stay tuned for that. And then there'll be more other kinds of live streams where like I explore either Titanic on a live stream because many of you know, I have that Titanic Honor and Glory demo. And then in the coming months, they're going to release an even larger version of that demo that has like 50% of the ship available to explore. So when I get that, I'll have live streams on that. And then the game Railroads Online, I occasionally play that. We're waiting for them to do this big major update to it, which will allow us to run different kinds of trains and things. And we actually just replaced all of the original track in our Railroads Online game with all new track. So when that major update happens to the Railroads Online game, I'll start live streaming that as well, so that way you guys can see it. But yeah, Justin says, any interest in Great Lakes liners and cargo ships? Yes, I wanted to do a video about the SS Keewatin. My friend was going to go there to film it, but it's not open for filming, so but yeah, there's not much I can do about Great Lakes liner ships, and the SS Kiwatin is really one of the only ones I like. So, but yeah, so Rianne says, very fun. Thank you, Alex. Great break from the stresses in life. Well, thank you. I'm glad. That's exactly what this is all about. So anyway, folks, thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.